Hi, my name is Gana.
And my name is Noreen.
And welcome to This Way Up,
where we talk all things city life, self-love,
and all the bits in between.
And welcome back to another episode. And today we're uncovering loving your first job out of college, university, just school in general.
Or like not so loving that first kind of big job and what you can kind of do about it. Like how to kind of identify A, that you maybe don't love your job, B, figuring out where else you want to head, and C, the support you can kind of get out in the process, right?
Yeah. And also just figuring out like what you want to do, because I feel like that's a huge like question mark. I feel like you graduate and like you have so much direction in terms of when you're in school, like, oh, you have to do A, B, C to, fulfill said requirements, and you have like
this grade you need and
exactly
this prerequisite, and
and then you're out in the world and you are kind of just bombarded with so many options, so many different ways you can take your career, so many different things you can do, and it's very overwhelming to say the least.
Like, 100%. Where do we start? I almost feel like maybe we can start with like knowing where to go in the first place. So maybe like when you're seeking out that first job, like what are certain things we've done or like we think we would do if we had to do it again in terms of looking for that first role and saying, hey, this is where I want to go.
Yeah. I want to say for me, this was advice I was told, and it's kind of hard to kind of understand what someone means by this, but once you get it, like it makes all the difference in the world. It was, don't look for a title. Look for what the job description is. Like, I feel like I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do in my day-to-day. Like, if someone was to sit there and ask me, like, okay, well, you're graduating now. Like, what do you want to do? It shouldn't be a title that comes to your head. It should be, okay, I want my day to look like this. I want to do this. This is the type of people I want to interact with. This is the type of work I want to be doing. And go based off of that. Because, like, the current job and role I'm in, like I love what I do and what I will be doing, but my title, like nobody's ever heard of this, and everyone would be so confused and be like, okay, but like what does that mean? And I think it was really helpful knowing that I wasn't looking for a title. I was looking for the day-to-day aspects of it, and that's one place to start, I'd say.
I like that. For me, initially when this was kind of the first time I had to go out and say, okay, cool, what do I want to do? Where do I go? I think I did none of the none of the 1 to 3 suggestions that are now popping up in my head, none of that. And I wish I did. I think initially I just wanted to do something cool, sounded good on paper, had income. Like that's kind of what I wanted to go into. I knew I wanted to like talk to people, interact, this and that. Like I think there, rather than even like the day-to-day what my day should look like, things that came to me were kind of vague concepts of, oh, I want my job to be this and to be that and to be this, period. And I don't think it was very well thought out. I don't think it was very well in line with what I wanted. I think it took time, and I think it took being in environments where I felt like, hey, this is cool, but just not a fit for me to finally realize, I think in the last year or so only, this new system of thinking is what I want to adopt, which is a pillar system. I started to think of it in a pillar system. When I went out there and started to look again for a role I felt like should be more in line with what I believe in and want to do, I said, okay, cool. 3 pillars. I want to be learning something new every day. I want to be... I want to be in a place where I have balance, learning something new, balance. And I think, what was the last one? I want to be challenged and be recognized for what I do. So I want to take on new things, take on responsibility, but then be recognized for all this and with either like more learning opportunities or more responsibility. So I started to look at it more from okay, you had vague concepts first coming into your brain about like what you'd picture yourself doing, but like what are the more important fundamental pillars for you that you feel will embody your values when it comes to work? Actually, I lied. It was not the challenged one. I take that back. It was actually, lastly, I wanted to feel like fulfillment and purpose, which I feel like is a dangerous zone. I think wanting fulfillment from work is a whole different thing we can get into later. However, yes, those were the main three things for me: fulfillment, work-life balance, and feeling like I was learning something new every day. And I felt like that is when I was like, oh my goodness, this is the like thesis of who I am and thesis of who I want to be in the work world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much because I think a lot of the times we're subconsciously told that this is just the direction your career needs to go, especially when you're fresh out or, you know, you don't necessarily have a lot of experience on paper. I say specifically on paper because I feel like there's so many different things that you can do before having that degree be signed a certain day and a year, like a month or whatever, reflecting that you're a fresh grad. But there's so many things that you can do to build up your experience, to help you be in a role that's not necessarily like an early career, like a new grad role. But yeah, I really like that you mentioned those pillars because it comes down to really understanding like what is, and I also second this, that's why I'm like saying it, fulfilling to you. And I think there's different buckets of fulfillment that come with a career. Like I always see it this way: your job takes up so many hours, like the majority of your weekdays, and do you really want to be doing something that, you know, doesn't necessarily make you like enjoy your day? Like, I don't know. I'm going to say no to that. Like, I think I want to do something that I enjoy doing. It doesn't necessarily need to be something I love doing or like, you know, the biggest thing I'm an advocate for, but it isn't something I want to be bored doing at the same time, right?
And I think that's such a good measured response to things, because I feel like I almost, we're our own biggest critics, but I almost feel like it's a bad thing that for me, I want to love my job. Like, and I feel like that's why it was so difficult initially to feel a sense of belonging, to feel fulfillment, because I was like, I want to love what I do. I want to love the people, I want to love the environmental factors. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not impossible, like, but it is difficult. I feel like, because there will be bad days and there will be days where you're like, oh, do I actually love this? But like, that is something I realized was important to me, that I really wanted to feel like, not just, hey, this is cool stuff, but like, oh my God, I'm so excited to get up every day right now. And I feel like that comes from like personal preference. It comes from like maybe just experiences I've had in the past where I was like, don't really love what I'm doing right now. And I think that's the key right there. It's like, figure out what's important to you. Like, what is that fulfillment bucket that matters to you? It's like, you know, do you want to feel like you're doing like good work, like for the environment or like for the world, or like you're helping people in your day-to-day role, or like you just love what you do and you love the company and you know what it stands for? Like, I think the key that we're getting here is just, you need to figure out what moves you and what makes you feel a sense of belonging, what makes you feel like, hey, yeah, that resonates. When I hear that stuff, oh, I feel like this is something I could do.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. And I think it's also sometimes a little tricky to know, because I think, at least, and I can speak for both of us here, a lot of this came from doing the wrong thing first.
Yes.
I didn't love what I did in my previous experiences, and it was more so like a process of elimination. Like, okay, I don't like this, but I kind of like this.
Yeah.
I don't like this, but I want this to be something that I do in my day-to-day. And it's kind of really, like, when you think about it, it sucks, because it's like, oh, do you mean I have to go through something I don't love doing to finally figure out what I want to do and what I love doing? But I feel like maybe us just putting it out there might help someone not have to go through that like we did, and just be able to figure out, like, no, this is what I like, this is what I don't. Because I don't think I had anybody really hold my hand and tell me, like, okay, so what is it that you want to do every single day? Or like, what is it that excites you about working, or what do you want to see yourself doing? What is the intersection of like what you like about your degree versus what you see yourself doing on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. And I feel like if someone had asked me those questions, I think I would have had a better direction in terms of what I was looking for, rather than just kind of, I think I want to do this, but I don't know if I'm going to love doing this. And it's very complicated. But if someone was there, like, literally all I wanted, this sounds so bad, all I wanted was a BuzzFeed quiz to tell me what I wanted to
like,
do.
just tell me what to apply for.
Yes.
Like, there's a billion jobs out there, please. Or in this case, not enough, but like, tell me where to go.
Yeah.
100%. And I think, honestly, knowing what you want to do in your day-to-day comes from, or lack thereof, comes from two problems, I feel like. not knowing what jobs exist, like what is it out there that I could be even doing in the first place, leave aside actually reading a job description, just like knowing what to search for out there is a big question mark. B, reading something and it not being what the role actually is. I think those are the two key kind of factors that go into probably like job dissatisfaction, and probably just like that feeling of initial like disappointment, like, hey, this is what I thought I'd be doing, those expectations, but this is what I'm actually doing and it's kind of not my vibe right now. So I think both can be kind of counteracted with talking to people. Literally like get to know people, figure it out, like talk to people very directly, ask things like, what does your day look like? What do you do when you get into the office? What does your office look like? Do you have cubicles? Do you not have cubicles? Like just the little silly questions. Because I don't know about you, but like, sure, the big stuff, like those pillars I mentioned, fulfillment and learning something new every day, challenged, that stuff matters, yes. But I think it's also the little things about a job environment that, to me at least, feel important. Where do I sit? How much do I get to talk to my colleagues? Like, do they take a lunch break? How long is their lunch break? Like, do they take a guilt-free lunch break? You know what I mean? Like, what is the culture like? Like, what do you do after work sometimes? Like, that stuff matters. It sounds silly, but I think it really matters. Where you sit physically, what is the desk like? What is the chair like? Like, I think this stuff over time adds up, especially when you're in that environment 8+ hours a day, correct?
Yeah. I will 100% agree with you here. I think that is a huge thing where you're seated is in your window. Yeah. Like that is so big for me because it's like, I don't want to be here 8 hours a day and darkness. I don't see the outside.
Or like cubicle lighting or like hospital lighting.
It is like really difficult, at least for me, to sit through an 8-hour day when I'm not in the most creatively surrounded environment. Yeah. And I just wanted to piggyback on something you said, like the lunch thing. Like, do your colleagues take lunch together? Do you go out for lunch together? And I really wanted a company or like at least a team where I felt like we were part of a bigger group. Like totally. I worked in places where everyone's kind of just doing their own thing, even though they're in the same team. And I know it works for so many people and that's what they want to do and good for them. But like I was looking for a place where I could have a group of people that we can go out to lunch with. We can talk about things that are going on in our lives. We can have fun and like get to know each other past just showing up 8 hours to the office. Cause I think, I don't know, I really like crave that human interaction and like building those relationships. And luckily, like, I think I just ended up finding a role where you're required to be that type of personality where you need to like be able to talk to people, build relationships, develop connections. So naturally, everyone that works in my department at the least is someone who would like to go out with lunch to you, someone who wants to get a coffee and have a chat, or like, you know, maybe do an activity outside of work hours to kind of build and curate relationships and, you know, build on that a little bit more. But yeah, I think those little things that you mentioned can really make or break your experience.
Oh, yeah.
So much. Like, you may love what you do in terms of what your job description is, but the fact that your environment isn't necessarily fostering what you're looking for in a workplace might actually be a breaking point. And I think you have to really figure out, like you said, just ask the literal questions like, where do you sit? Where do you go out for lunch? Like, how does your office look? Like
what do you, just the little stuff.
It makes all the difference in the world. I think like,
when do you leave at the end of the day?
Yeah. No, that's a huge one. Like, when do you leave? It's so important to be able to like figure it out. And I just want to like go back. Like, I know it's so intimidating because everyone's like, oh, reach out to people on LinkedIn, have those conversations. I know it's scary, but do it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's how I figured out what I wanted to do, if I really liked the job I was going to be interviewing for, or if it was what I wanted, what I didn't want. Because honestly, like, yeah, you might reach out to 10 people and only one person responds, but at least you have one person telling you like, hey, this is what I do in my day-to-day life. This is where I sit in the office. This is what we do. This is the work environment. And I think just having that piece of information makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I would pretty much say that sums it up in terms of like what to look for, how to get in, like where to find yourself post, let's say, graduating. But let's like switch gears a little and talk about, cool, you've done it, you've done all of that, you're right on track, you found something, you're there now, but it doesn't turn out to be what you wanted. That I feel like is such an important conversation too, though, because it's like most times, actually, I don't know, that's a stat I randomly pulled out of thin air. Not most times. I'm sure sometimes it turns out to be that you do all the right things and you end up in a place where maybe it doesn't work out for you, because we're all just really young and we're still figuring it out. And like there's just such ample opportunity out there, like where it's like I just, with things probability wise, you maybe don't land your dream job on the first try, right? Like it's maybe you do, and that's wonderful, well and good. But if you don't, then it's like, what next? And definitely, like, we've both been in positions where we've had to make like difficult decisions and like reflect and kind of look inward to figure out if we should make a change and, you know, if we shouldn't. And I feel like everyone feels those things where it's like, oh, should I make a change? Should I not? What do you think is most important to do in that situation where you feel like, okay, now I'm in a situation, but I don't know if this is for me?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we really need to dig deeper a little bit when you're in that position, because it can be a really scary thought. Like, it's really hard when you're like, I don't know if I love my job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I see myself doing this. And it's like you start to kind of convince yourself that you don't need to love what you do. But I second you on that. I think you do need to love what you do. It makes your life better. It really does. And
yeah.
Yes, you're not going to wake up every day and be like, yay, I'm so excited to go to work today. Wake up at like whatever set hour and get ready to go to the office. But there is definitely a sense of loving your job and loving what you do that makes it just a little bit better about feeling good about yourself and feeling good about what you do on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, like if you're in a position where just when you're trying to convince yourself like, oh, like I don't need to love my job, I feel like at least for me, that's a point of like, okay, maybe it's time for something new and something fresh. Like the one thing that I've realized is your dream job might not be the first thing you end up getting, maybe not the second thing, but it definitely exists. That was something I was told I didn't believe, because it's like, what do you mean like any job can exist? But it definitely can. You just need to figure out what it is. And like, it's not as simple as like, what title am I looking for? It's more so, what is the job description am I looking for? Like, what do I want to do day to day? But I think being in that position where you're like a little like, oh, yeah, I don't love this. I think you just have to have like a conversation with yourself, or it's like someone in a safe space where you're able to sit down and be honest about it. Because I think subconsciously we're like, this is something that's bringing me a stream of income, some sort of stability, obviously, because finances and stability is
important.
So intertwined.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a big question mark and go, like, do I leave this tomorrow and start looking? Or is it, do I look as I'm doing this? But then you also feel a sense of guilt when you're like, I don't hate my job, but I don't love it, but I think I want something different, and trying to like navigate that. But I think it's just having an honest conversation with yourself and letting yourself know, like, I think I want something different, and that's okay.
I like that. I think for me, having like, same as you, kind of having to have those reflections and conversations with myself, I'd say it comes down to, if I have to think about it, two things. When I'm in that position, if I'm in that position where I'm like, oh, this isn't feeling too good and aligned with my values and beliefs anymore, or like what I want to do every day anymore, I think it comes down to two things. And this is a bit of a different take from yours. I think it has come from dismantling the idea of a dream job. And I think that was the first thing I had to do, because I think I go into a lot of situations where I definitely place a lot of things and situations and circumstances and people on pedestals. Mm-hmm. And same thing applies with a job, right? Like you go into it starry-eyed, everyone does, and everyone has these like ideals about what it'll be and where you'll end up with it, who you'll meet, all the things you'll accomplish. And I feel like that in my mind had stuck and was so engraved in me, even through university, where I was like, yep, I will find this one missing puzzle piece, put it into my puzzle, and then it'll be perfect and nothing will be out of line. It'll be great. And then I was like, no, stop. Like, this is now this great, like, shattering in you of this puzzle, because now you feel like, oh, this was supposed to be the perfect puzzle piece and now it's not feeling right. What's going on? Scrap the idea. Like, it may exist, it may not. Like, get into this idea of the dream job and deconstruct it and figure out what it is about this idea like that you're actually chasing. And I think that's how I came up with my pillars. The fulfillment pillar, the challenge yourself, learn new things pillar, the work-life balance pillar. Like, I almost had to be like, okay, this thing, this figment of your imagination right now, break it down. What is it that you're moving towards? And then be very realistic about it and be like, how much of this do I actually get in my current situation? Am I getting any of it at all? If I don't, hey, you just said this was the idea of what you wanted and now you're not getting it. What are you going to do about it? Second thing I think that was super important in that situation, and I think always will be, is sunk cost fallacy. If you're ever in any situation where you feel like this kind of attachment to anything, I think immediately you got to like challenge your beliefs and be like, why am I attached right now? Is it because of all the time and effort I've committed, I've invested? Is there, like, what is it that makes me so emotional about change? And I think I'm definitely a person that's very emotional when it comes to change. You know that, where I'm like, no, but I shouldn't, but I can't, but I have to, but all of that. And it's just like, no, like, in this moment, is something serving you? If it is not, take a decision. Go back to your fundamental pillars of what you want, what you desire, what you value. Is it there? Is it not? Forget about everything you've invested so far. Who you were a month ago, a year ago is not you of now. And that's okay. And that's great, actually. So figure out what now you wants to do. Go get it.
Yeah.
Those were the two main things that I've, in kind of a difficult situation, had to stand on. And then it's something that I feel like I would want everyone to think about.
Yeah. I think those are really important things to think about. Like, one thing that I picked up from what you were saying is you kind of grow with your career. Like, what you wanted a month ago might not be what you want a month later, and that may come from obviously like very different things. Maybe it's a reaction out of what you're doing day to day and you're not loving it per se, or maybe you met someone who does something so exciting and you're like, I want to do those things, and you're so inspired by it, but like, there's so many different things, and I think you have to allow yourself to grow with your wants and desires and needs, because if you allow yourself to kind of stay where you are out of the guilt of staying, out of the guilt of, I love this a month ago, why am I not loving this right now? Or why am I craving this change? And like you said, being emotional about it, because I also am very, very emotional about change. And I think I also have this thing where I struggle with, like, leaving my last job. I felt a lot of guilt. Like, I wasn't feeling it, like, so, like, I was feeling happy about stepping into this new chapter of my life, but I was feeling so guilty leaving this behind, because I had developed like a good relationship with my coworkers and like gotten to know them, and like I really looked up to some of the people that I had met there, and it was kind of like, am I disappointing you by leaving? But at the same time, you have to put yourself first and just take a step back, and it's like, listen, I could stay at this job where I'm like happy. I can't say I'm like excited, but I'm happy, and continue on with this role and take this trajectory. Or I can take a leap of faith, try something new, and I might just love it a lot more. And this might just completely change what maybe I thought I wanted for myself, but I'm excited to see where that'll take me. And I think it's worth taking those leaps. They might also fail. I will be honest, they might fail, but I think you will never know until you try. So like, just let yourself kind of go into the flow and allow yourself to be okay with not wanting what you wanted a month ago, a year ago, or whatever it is, and wanting something new, wanting something that will challenge you in different ways, because you might be somewhere and you might not feel as challenged, or you might feel like you've not been growing or learning. And I know for both of us, those are really two big things that I need to have in my day-to-day. Like, I'm growing, I'm challenged, I'm learning something new. So just let yourself grow with it.
Totally. I think that makes total sense. And I think the last kind of element that I'd want to kind of get into with myself also, and I feel like I've had to as well, as much as I feel like I'm pretty proud of where I've come in terms of breaking down what it is that I want and then where I want to head. And like, I feel like with time and more experiences, I'll even get better at figuring out what it is in the moment that I do want, or like what's maybe not serving me, what I need from my current role for it to serve me. I feel like it's also all about compromise to some degree. Like nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is ever ideal. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Like you will never have everything all at once. You can't. As much as I feel like you can move towards the best situation for you, you'll never have everything all at once. And that's why I say there is no such thing as a dream job. And I feel like that is also why that stuck with me. Because it's like, no, like situations are not perfect. But if you make the best of it, you find a place where most of your ideals are being like recognized, most of your kind of wants are being met and fulfilled, then that's the place for you. It doesn't have to be this ideal, like beautiful kind of perfect puzzle piece that fits in and beyond which you need nothing, but it's the place where you feel like most of your criteria is being met, and any little thing that maybe isn't perfect, you find ways to kind of fulfill that for yourself. You find other avenues in life to fulfill that. You find a side hustle, you find a side passion, you find something to do that isn't the job, and you make your situation your dream situation rather than chasing this mythical dream job.
Yeah, and I think to just tie it together, I feel like there's different things that are important to you at different stages of your life. I think when you're maybe very early out in your career, you want something that's more exciting, something that's more challenging, something new, something fresh. And that might come with a compromise of not as like financially the best, or maybe not as stable in terms of like, will I have my job tomorrow in this period where we're in economic distress globally. But I feel like you just need to fulfill whatever your current self is seeking and wanting. Like right now, we're like, okay, I want a challenge. I want something new. I want to learn. I'm craving all of this. And so you find ways to fulfill that. And maybe like, a couple years out, you might want something that's a little bit more stable in terms of finances or job security. So you kind of pivot to look for those things and, fulfill yourself in that manner. But at the end of the day, like you said, there's no said, I will have this job where I do everything that I want. I'll have the exact like work environment I want. I'll have the pay that I want. I want to have the location of the job be like 2 minutes of a walk from my like current place, and whatever these like little pieces are, like there's definitely things that you will need to compromise, but it's learning about what's important this very moment, but also allowing yourself to understand that maybe having that little itch, you might want to actually lean into it and just try something out, because like you're so young, this is the time where you can actually bounce around and figure out like, okay, let me try this, let me try that, let me try a little bit of this, let me see what I like, what I don't like, because there's so much going on in terms of the industry and the work that's happening in the industry that like you want to know. You'll never know everything out there, but you want to know as much as you can so you can figure out a pivot into which direction you want to eventually go into.
Totally. I think that's a great, great, great note to like kind of tie it all together. Yeah.
That was our little take on loving and not loving your first job out of school.
Yeah.
And even not just outside of school. Like I think these are probably thoughts we're going to have when we're like 10, 15, 20 years into our career and still trying to figure out what's fresh, what's not, what we want to do, what we don't want to do. But I think it's more so about just prioritizing what you want in terms of what fulfills you. And again, that's different for every single person. And it's about having those conversations with yourself.
Yeah. And it's about breaking it down so that you're dealing with one piece of the problem at a time rather than everything kind of crumbling all at once and trying to figure out everything in a night. So one at a time, follow that itch, think about those questions, and there we go.
Yeah, and thank you again for listening and tuning into our episode today. And of course, if you like it, feel free to share with anybody else who you think would also love to hear about this or just future episodes that we might post. And again, leave your thoughts on what you think and what you might want to hear next. And we'll catch you next time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. See ya.
All right, bye.